Oh, fair enough. So Ben is single. Shock. Ben has been married before. Ben married a woman who needed a visa, but she dumped him. Which she dumped him before she even got to the country. So it kind of feels like the prospect of being anywhere near Ben is a less attractive prospect than potentially killing your whole family crossing the channel in a dinghy. Bingo.
Thank you, Peaky Blinders Live. Joe is kind of a himbo. Nice to look at, not much going on up there. Joe says that he's slept with more women than he can count. But the thing is, I slept with more women than Joe can count. Joe's just not very good at counting. You know, once he stops, he just runs out of fingers, that's it.
Ben plays Dungeons and Dragons. Shock. He says that his favourite thing about playing Dungeons and Dragons is he gets to create these fantasy characters and live out these characters that he'd never be able to be in the real world. He says that so far the favourite character that he's played out in this fantasy is that of a man that any woman would feel comfortable getting into a lift with alone.
It's a bold move to bring up the whole Dungeons and Dragons thing, Joe. Because who is your dungeon master? He's part of my Dungeons and Dragons group, right? Tell me your character name. Raymond the Righteous, first level paladin? Yeah. So before you're trying to high road me, you know, yeah, I'm a nerd, but I'm your dungeon master, so...
You gotta do some other research.
So, yeah, Joe has trouble forming long-term relationships. He slept with, you know, more women than he can count. 11. But only ever once, because, you know, eventually they hear him talk. They hear the accent, and then it's all over, isn't it? Joe like that, Babby. That's what. That's how he speaks when he's having sex. I've heard it. It's horrific.
Ben claims to be into BDSM. That is a shock, in fairness. Yeah. Ben is into BDSM the same way that Josef Fritzl was into BDSM. I feel, in that chaining women up in his basement was the only way he was ever going to get his dick wet. He has a cabinet full of pills in his house. He says that most of them are for his cholesterol and his blood pressure, and some are just for making his guests more compliant.
Yeah, I just want to say that however this turns out, I'm really proud of Joe. He's reading. I think that's like a level 8, you know, text. It's purple band, so that's good. Yeah, so bit of behind the scenes here. When you do one of these roasts, you send your opponent a list of your weaknesses and flaws. And this is what Joe. Here's some of the things Joe sent me. Point 2, I'm single, can't form a relationship. Point 4. Lost count of the number of women I've slept with. I think I'm a sex addict. Point 6, I was scouted for Love Island. Point 9, people use my pictures to catfish on Tinder. Now these aren't weaknesses. These are just humble brags. I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this shit? It's just him bragging about how
I'm single.
Yeah, so it's above his tack level. So I put number 5, right? Put Joe Bingham fact number 5. His dad abandoned him when he was 7, right? Good call, in my opinion. Because, you know, imagine living for 7 years, raising Joe in Birmingham. It must have felt like 18. I think the guy just thought he was done raising him. Over to you.
So I get my money's worth out of therapy next week. Ben runs a comedy night called Log Comedy. It's exactly what you're thinking. They sit on a log in the woods in Hampstead Heath and tell jokes to each other. It's useful for Ben trying new material because you can't hear people not laughing, which is most of his gigs. But more importantly for Ben, they can't hear you scream in the woods either, can they? It's the ideal venue for Ben to do comedy because Ben dies at most of his gigs, but at least when he dies at Log Comedy, he feels like a kind of connection to all the women that he's buried there.
Thanks, Jeff the Carrot. We're on 4 now, aren't we? Yeah, okay. So, no, that was for your benefit. I just, you know, struggling. So you can't see Joe's tattoos at the moment, unfortunately. Could you just roll them up and give the fans a bit what they want? Right, to summarise, basically, what they say is, this is your left side, this is your right side, and then there's just a map with a bull ring to help them get around.
You started so strong. Outside of comedy, Benny is fascinated by studying psychology in his spare time. So I imagine he's familiar with Pavlov's dog. So Pavlov's dog is obviously when Pavlov trained his dog to salivate whenever a bell rings. And I imagine that resonates with Ben because he looks like he salivates whenever he hears a school bell ring.
So, Joe is what you might call beefcake. In America, they probably call him like a meatball. But in the Midlands, where he's from, they don't have beefcake or meatballs. What they have is faggots. You know, faggots and gravy. Faggots, peas and gravy. And Catherine, it's important that you know this is a regional delicacy, right? It's a bit like a meatball. So when he goes back to visit, San Oak, wherever he's from, all the Brummies say, hey look, it's that faggot from London. I know it's wrong that they say that, it's homophobic. Because their Brummies are very backward people, that's what he's like.
What a battle! We go straight to Victoria. Victoria, what did you think?
Oh my God! Shut up, Ben. That was wild. The span of your roasts from like, bro, you're only a first level paladin, all the way up to you're a faggot is just fucking wild. I also love the cardigan from Joe because if Joe's wearing it, like, oh, he's kind of trendy, but if Ben was wearing it, you'd be like, he's autistic. I just think for the fucking enormous swings, I'm gonna give it to Ben because that was fucking wild.
1-0 to Ben. Go straight to Catherine. Catherine, what did you think?
Well, I do have to say that sweater that Joe is wearing looks like the rag Ben jerks off into. Like, why are you wearing that? Do you think you can get away with that because you're hot? Is that what that is?
It's cold, isn't it?
This has holes in it. It's made of holes. Okay. Ben, I like that you did that act out of the way Joe fucks because you kind of look like you have a peephole in his house a little bit. I think ultimately, I give it to Ben. I think Ben, Joe, he surprised me. I'm just gonna say he didn't look that smart. So for me, it's Ben.
It's 2-0. Ben is 1. But we go straight to Darren Lee over here.
People are in like Joe. Look what Joe looks like. You can't this guy. I'm straight, but man, yeah. But no, a similar thing to you. I've never seen Ben before. I just like the way you're fucking you delivered your jokes. It's like there's no end. He petered out with Venom. It's like he goes like, yeah, and your shit, and look at your face and the state of your eyebrows. It's just like ah. Just like he's already dead. Stop kicking him. But yeah, that's I'll give it to Ben. That's right, yeah.
Oh, it's a whitewash for Ben. The miseration.